Mr. Speaker, I must first give thanks to the one who sees all and knows all, that great geometrician of the universe, for his many blessings, his guidance and protection from all harms and danger, the one who protects us from the evil planners, who are always seeking our destruction, but will never, ever succeed. Yes, I must recognize the people of Southwest St. Catherine was once again seen in me, a man who stands with them, works for them, and one who continues to be dedicated and committed to their welfare and cause. A representative who has been tested, tried, and proven so many times. I am grateful to them for electing me to serve a sixth time in this House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to acknowledge the members of staff, the senior manager, and other members of staff of the ministry and of the NWA who have been providing valuable support. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Most Honorable Prime Minister for the confidence and trust in me shown by him in appointing me to this noble position. I am humbled by his confidence, and I'm committed to working relentlessly in playing my part in moving this country from poverty to prosperity. Mr. Speaker, today I rise to speak in this honorable House on matters which I truly believe will make Jamaica a much better place. We intend through this ministry to ensure that we take this country and its people from poverty to prosperity, to make this country strong. The build-out of our infrastructure will be key. This includes ensuring that our people live in suitable houses, travel on reasonably good roads, and enjoy a way of life that reflects positive change. I will this afternoon outline to this House some important pillars of our plan to move our people and this country from poverty to prosperity, transforming lives, renewing hope, and building the road to prosperity. I'll be taking you through the various programs that we now have on the roads, as well as share with you all the exciting initiatives that will be undertaken by this administration. Since taking office in February, the government had set out to intensify the rate at which we carry out routine maintenance activities on the main road network. Through funding from the Road Maintenance Fund, we have done some 72,000 square meters of patching across the country. Through these efforts, we have spent $180 million. This year, we'll be spending through the Road Maintenance Fund approximately $1.1 billion. We have identified a number of areas and activities to target through the allocation. Some of these include our training works at $54 million, island-wide disaster mitigation work, $200 million, art mix patching, $200 million, road rehabilitation and spray patching, $290 million, traffic management and intersection improvement, $60 million. You know, Mr. Speaker, there's one thing to be speaking of the amount of money spent on routine maintenance activities. It is another thing when it comes to the payment of these services. We came into the office not only hearing of the many complaints about non-payment of bills. Many of us have had to use gentle suasion to prevent confrontation between individuals, resulting from the National Works Agency not paying or taking inordinate long time to settle bills for work. I've experienced the problems. We have taken steps that will see this issue be no more. Beginning immediately, our contracting partners, once they have completed the work, will be paid within 2 weeks of the bill being given final approval. This is being made possible through a new trust, a new way of doing business between ourselves and our partners. We initiated a system whereby bills had to be generated by the NWA, then funded through requests from the road maintenance fund before payment is made. This often led to works and sometimes months, to weeks and sometimes months elapsed before persons are paid for services. Under this new direction, the Road Maintenance Fund will advance sums every quarter to National Works Agency, who will in turn pay for the services once satisfactorily rendered. All documents relating to works in the preceding quarter will then be sent to the Road Maintenance Fund before the next tranche of funds is made available. So you see, Mr. Speaker, we are not going to be responsible and not ensuring that all the necessary documentation is in place, evidence and work done, and value added to the communities. The drive to move from poverty to prosperity demands a new approach to doing business, a new approach to engaging our customers, and a new approach to how our people relate to government. Through this, Mr. Speaker, we are proving that this is not a bag of mouth. Through us, there is action. Action, not a bag of mouth. Mr. Speaker, it is with this new approach in mind that I have been leading by example. A few weeks ago, we had a demonstration in Southeast St. Mary where residents complained about the state of the Golden Grove Main Road. I will agree that the road is in very bad state, but that has been the case well before February. Yes. I do not countenance public disorder, that I have made it very clear. Young man, just keep quiet and listen to facts. The member of parliament for that area is Miss Lisa Hanna. Okay? Southeast St. Anne. Sorry, Southeast St. Anne.
Minister, please address the speaker.
I will, Mr. Speaker.
Do not address any member across there.
Well, Mr. Speaker.
Please address the speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
I will prevent him from disrupting
you. Will you get the member from Southern St. Anne to allow me to speak?
Please address me and do not address them.
You're trying to take up my time. I do not countenance public disorder, and I have made it clear, very clear, Mr. Speaker. I do, however, have an open door policy and welcome anyone who desires to engage me about the state of their roads and situation in their community. The people of Golden Groves contacted me asking for a meeting. This was subsequent to their demonstration. I agreed to meet with them, listen to their concern. At the end of the day, we found a solution to their problems. They wanted to see an improvement road, and through the Road Maintenance Fund, we have managed to obtain some $33.6 million to undertake work on this road. The point here, Mr. Speaker, is that I'm to make this portfolio, that I aim to make this portfolio very responsive to the people. I don't intend, however, to allow this ministry to be held to ransom by any community or any person for selfish reasons. Be prepared to work with us, and we will work with you. A key part of our routine activity is this patching of our roads. Mr. Speaker, I'm not comfortable with the state of affairs with this activity. Too many times we see where roads are being cut and prepared for patching, but the work takes weeks to be completed. This is unacceptable. We will ensure that cuts are repaired within 48 hours of being prepared, and small holes don't become craters because of slow or no response. Too often, Mr. Speaker, there are small things such as pothole or broke manhole covers that goes unattended for an inordinate long time, resulting in accident or serious cost implication for the government. We intend to deal with this issue. The National Works Agency has a regional structure, and we intend to ensure that this structure works for the benefit of the people. To improve the effectiveness of the National Works Agency, Mr. Speaker, to respond to some of these small but crucial issues, we'll be establishing a revolving fund in all the regions. The regional staff will be in a position to respond to some of these demands in a timely manner without having to go through the layers of red tape, while persons are exposed to grave danger. $14 million will be set aside for this purpose, $1 million to each parish. This will be financed through the Road Maintenance Fund. Mr. Speaker, I'm well aware that the government can outline its best possible plans to move this country forward. These objectives amount to naught without the active involvement of the people. With this in mind, I intend to engage the members of staff of the National Works Agency in order to lift the morale of the officers, especially in the regions. I have detected that there's a low morale impacting staff. I intend to make them feel relevant, meaningful, and involved in the process of moving us from poverty to prosperity. Mr. Speaker, this ministry as a driver of the economy understands very well the need for fiscal prudence and adherence to the rules under which contracts are procured. Currently, contracts under $500,000 do not have to be tendered. The rules allow for 3 quotes to be received, an award made based on the prices. It may sound like a lot of money, but we all know that in the context of work, this sum is negligible. Since the increase from $250,000 to $500,000, the Jamaican dollar has devalued by some 65 to 70%. It is for this reason, Mr. Speaker, that we are proposing that the ceiling for the procurement of these small contracts be lifted to $1.5 million. We believe that this better reflects current realities, where cost of work are concerned, and will reduce the amount of barriers that often prevent simple tasks from being accomplished in a reasonable time. There are times when small projects are tendered and owing to some reason or another, it takes 3 months, 6 months, or even 9 months to get implementation. We want to change this. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to the issue of flood control. We intend to continue the efforts of mitigating flooding in many areas of the country, as well as to dust off plans that were there but shelved some years ago. We have been listening to the statement of the Meteorological Office and the possible outlook for this year in terms of hurricane. Our plan is to undertake our mitigation effort in 3 phases. The first phase of the work is just now coming to an end. Under this phase, we are spending $82 million. This through the Capital A budget. Overall, we'll be spending $336 million in disaster preparedness this year. $200 million from the Road Maintenance Fund, plus $54 million from the river training works, and $82 million from Capital project. We intend to do even more, Mr. Speaker. The Big Pond and Old Darby area have for years suffered from flooding. In 2012, there was a plan to implement a central flood control system in the communities. This system was slated to cost $5 million. The funds were there through a loan from the IDB, but this was shelved by the last government. We will be implementing this system through funds from the Inter-American Development Bank. We will be spending $8 million on this system, which will include 2 additional bridges between Churchman and Old Harbour. We are committed to helping the people to build a resilient community through solid infrastructure. Of course. Mr. Speaker, as I said before, there was a loan from the IDB for $5 million to complete this project under the last GLP government. The last PMP government shelved that project. I am committed to doing it, regardless of what it costs for the people of Southwest St. Catherine. So if you are vexed about it, keep on being vexed. This will be done to relieve the suffering for the people of Old Harbour and the people of Big Pond. Mr. Speaker, we intend to continue effort at reducing congestion in main road network, while at the same time making it safer for persons to travel. We'll be targeting some intersections for improvement during this fiscal year. The improvement will see many other things: the widening of areas to facilitate turning lanes and installation of traffic light. On the matter of traffic light, Mr. Speaker, many persons use the intersection of St. John's Road and Spanish Town Bypass. The road is busy for many reasons, including the gateway to the final resting place of many. We recognize the inherent danger going through that junction, and so we'll be putting up traffic lights at St. John's Road, Spanish Town Bypass. Not only that, the intersection at Joe Lane and Brunswick Avenue, where they touch the Spanish Town Bypass, will also be signalized. We'll be doing some 100 kilometers of road marking and installing over 400 safety sites across the country. We recognize our role in reducing the carnage on the roads, and we'll be doing all that is necessary to save life. Repainting of pedestrian crossing will also be a key feature of our Road Safety Trust, as well as will be the repairs to guardrails and retaining walls. Mr. Speaker, the major infrastructure development program has been in progress for 2 years. This 5-year program, valued at $354 million has seen only about $10.34 million being spent on local projects over the 2 years. $58.17 million have been spent overall through this program, with $30.4 million being spent on Jeep-related projects. The main contractor, China Harbor Engineering, has directly implemented projects at a cost of $8.7 million. Clearly, the rate of the project's execution has been bad. We intend to not only increase the rate of project execution, but also ensure that every cent that is spent is value for money. We inherited a serious overhang where the non-payment of contractors was concerned. This situation, however, is being cleared up, and I can say that at the end of June, we're given the assurance by China Harbor that all the outstanding bills for contractors would have been paid. We are moving, Mr. Speaker, from poverty to prosperity. That said, Mr. Speaker, this year we will spend $100 million on projects through the major infrastructure development project. We intend to go even further in the 2017-2018 fiscal year, when we will execute projects valued $150 million. The remainder of the loan will be expended in the 2018-2019 financial year. For this financial year, Mr. Speaker, we have some major projects that will be undertaken. These include the Constant Spring Road to Manor Park and the Mandela Highway. Mr. Speaker, many of us who are aware of the difficulty getting from Old Stony Road and passing the turnoff to Clifton Boulevard, where we call Cassava Peace. Yes. On the road to prosperity, we'll be making a stop here as we begin to progress to improve. What? As said, on the road to prosperity, we begin to improve the corridor from Old Stony Road to the intersection of West Kings House Road and the Constant Spring Road. This corridor will be widened to accommodate 4 lanes of traffic. The project will be broken down into 2 phases of implementation. These phases were determined based on the urgency to address the delays being experienced in the Manor Park area, as well as the minimal land acquisition required for implementation of the phase. On phase 1 of the project, we will be widening the corridor from Clifton Boulevard to Norbrook Drive, approximately 1 kilometer, from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. There will also be 2 sidewalks and a median to separate the northbound and the southbound traffic. New traffic signal will be installed at the Clifton Boulevard intersection with right turn lanes. Cassava Peace Road intersection will accommodate left only. Left out movement. Manor Park intersection will also be signaled with right lane turns. Existing signal at the Oliver Road intersection is to be upgraded with 2 right turn lane on the Constant Spring Road northbound road. Oliver Road will be widened for approximately 100 meters to provide 2 westbound right lanes on the approach and a left turn lane along 2 receiving lanes. New traffic lights will be erected at Grosvenor Terrace intersection at the gully, so too at the Norbrook Drive intersection. The existing box culvert just north of Norbrook Drive will widen to facilitate increase in the number of lanes from 2 to 4, as well as sidewalk, and the provision of a bus lay-by area for Manor Park. We intend to have this phase completed in 8 months and within a budget of $7 million. Mr. Speaker, the design for this project has been substantially completed. Titles have been received from the National Land Agency and are now being overlaid onto the design drawing to determine the extent of land acquisition required. Mr. Speaker, we intend to this year commence the progress to transforming the Mandela Highway from the current 4-lane parking space that it has become to a more efficient carriageway, befitting the status of the road carrying the most traffic per day. The improvement will essentially entail an increase in the number of lanes from 4 to 6 between 6 miles and the on-and-off fronts of highway. There will be 3 lanes per direction. Yes, but you announced you don't work. There will be 3 lanes per direction with limited access. Mr. Speaker, we have budgeted $64 million to be spent on this project. This year, we intend to have the bridge structure over the Fresh River and the box culvert during the park completed as part of the work. Mr. Speaker, while we are on the subject of Mandela Highway, I want to announce to start immediately. We'll be starting immediately. We'll be discontinuing the exclusive bus lane. We intend, Mr. Speaker, to discontinue the exclusive bus lane that was created on the westbound carriageway in the morning. We have done our own reviews and deemed that it is causing much inconvenience to road users without much success. Going forward, the road will be used according to how it was designed. In the morning, 2 lanes going west, 2 lanes coming east. Work is now in progress along the Marcus Garvey Drive, and we expect that by the end of this fiscal year, we begin to see marked improvement along the corridor. Mr. Speaker, the proposed work includes the widening of road at the Barbican Lane. Barbican Road will be widened from 2 lanes to 4 lanes between the intersection of Russell Heights and Barbican Road to the Jackson Road, Barbican Road intersection. Barbican Road and East Kings House Road circle will also be realigned into a T-junction. The realignment is geared at improving safety for vehicular and pedestrian traffic and reducing congestion in Barbican Square, reducing travel time and improving network efficiency by promoting a smoother flow of traffic along the corridor. The proposed work will include closure of the western leg of the East Kings House Road with intersect Barbican Road if it's in the Barbican Baptist Church. A change in flow of traffic from 1-way to 2-way along Barbican Road between Barbican Baptist Church and the Fontana Pharmacy along the eastern leg of East Kings House Road. Mr. Speaker, already we have identified some 28 parcels of land to acquire as part of this development. The National Land Agency is now well advanced with the process of acquiring more than 50% of these. Given the progress made to date, we expect that actual construction along this 1-kilometer stretch will get underway by the end of the last quarter of this fiscal year. The design to widen Adler Park Road are now being finalized. We intend to undertake repair in 2 phases. The section of this road from 6 miles to Keesing Avenue, which is 1.5 kilometer, 3 miles to Keesing Avenue, which is 1.5 kilometer, will form phase 1 of the project. I have asked the National Works Agency to ensure that, subject to budgetary concern, all is in place to have this project commence during this fiscal year. Elsewhere in St. Andrew, Mr. Speaker, we will be doing work on Essex Hall Road, that is in West Rural St. Andrew, Park Works to Cavalier and Backbush. Some gully works will also be done this year. Work will be done on the Sandy Gully, Constance Min Gully at Rampton, and Perkins Boulevard Gully at Meadowbrook Estate. Mr. Speaker, we are an all-inclusive government. And so we are not only looking at improving the state of infrastructure in Kingston and St. Andrew, we'll be taking it all over the island. In St. Mary, we will be rehabilitating the road from Covey to Claremont, Guysdale to Gale, St. Ann, Alexander to Brownstown, Orchurus Development Road, Greenock to Alexander, Guysdale to Gale. Trelawney, we'll be doing Stewarttown, Lorimer via Albertown, St. James, Blackshop to Stapleton, Williams to Opton, Adelphi to Kent to Saltmarsh, Sine to Virgin Valley, Westmoreland, Grange Hill to Little London, Glasgow to Savilmar, First Cross to Macfield, and this will be done by that one with a part of major infrastructure project. St. Elizabeth, Tombstone to Gutters, Middle Quarters to Newmarket. And Mr. Speaker,
all the victimizers, you're here now.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I want to make special.
Order, Mr. Hutchinson.
I want to make special reference
Order.
to Mr. Speaker. The Member of Parliament for North West St. Elizabeth made an utterance because he has suffered tremendously over the years. That constituency has been neglected. But all the victimization that he received, he has been elected repeatedly. Mr. Speaker, the member, Mr. Speaker, the member has been sucking salt out of a wooden spoon under that government. I want to say that at this time, the member won't suck no salt out of a wooden spoon. He's gonna eat honey out of a golden spoon. St. Elizabeth continue. We have Springfield to Pisca, Mountainside to Fullerton. And may I say, Mr. Speaker, that Tombstone to Gutters will commence in a matter of weeks. Mr. Redmond.
Give the speaker some time. Let the speaker.
Mr. Speaker, in Manchester, we have Segbert to Clarendon, Waldenton to Grantham, Christiana to Limit. Clarendon, Freetown to Fort Pass, Palmer's Cross to Foga, Cocoa Peace to Alexandria. Portland, Buff Bay to Whitehall, Tranquility to Bangor, St. Thomas, Moran Crossing to Whitehall, C4 to Saw, Port Moran to Bath. Mr. Speaker, under the forerunner, but you haven't given me the road you want yet.
Mr. Hutchinson.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Hutchinson, I know you are excited, but please, I want order in the House. So that
Mr. Speaker, order the forerunner to major to mid P, which was the JDIP. We had started, the Jamaica Labour Party government then started several projects which were later abandoned by the government in 2012. We will restart and complete these projects this time round. These projects were Windsor Avenue, Windsor Road, Duncan Spen Road, Gutters to Bushy Park, Spring Village to Rockstone, Brethren Town. You will notice, Mr. Speaker, that these projects are all in St. Catherine. Additionally, we'll be carrying out rehabilitation work on roads from Woodall to Belfield, back past to Junction. Former Prime Minister Bruce Golding and former Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller for some time has asked for some improvement and rehabilitation in the Marley Mount area. of Old Harbour. And that's where your leader opposition come from. And she, the former Prime Minister, the most Honorable Portia Simpson-Miller, when she went to her godmother and teacher's funeral, they spoke to her about some roads that led to the home that our teacher lived. And she came back and asked our own government to repair it. And our own government didn't do it. These roads that she requested were Sherman Terrace, Wellside Lane, and Begonia Crescent in Marley Mount Housing Scheme. Mr. Speaker, I want to make it clear, that this new Prime Minister will not have to ask for it to be done. I will satisfy the requests of those two Prime Ministers, Most Honorable Bruce Golding and Most Honorable Portia Simpson-Miller. These roads will be done this year. Mr. Speaker, we'll be undertaking some bridges this year. We have Surge Island Bridge in St. Thomas, Johns River Bridge in St. Thomas.
Do not disturb the minister in this presentation. Order on both sides, please.
All right.
Go ahead,
The
Minister.
bridges to be addressed this year: Surge Island in St. Thomas, Johns River in St. Thomas, Troutall Pass in Clarendon, Duncan Spen in St. Catherine, Nightingale Grove, and Spring Garden River. Mr. Speaker, recognize that in moving the country from poverty to prosperity, we cannot continue doing things the same way. We'll do some things differently. We hear the cries every day about the quality of road work, and we know of the difficulties finding the funds to treat with all the demands. We therefore must look at what we have and how we can use the resources available to maximize value and satisfy our customers. One of the things we will be looking to do, Mr. Speaker, where feasible, rubber in the repairs of roads. This is new technology. Rubber. There's no doubt. There is no doubt that waste tires pose a significant health and environmental risk to our people. If for no other reason, they facilitate the breeding of mosquitoes. Somebody have a mic on somebody. On the mic. My mic. Somebody. You want to do that? We are moving to eliminate or to minimize significant or reduce the risk associated with tires, rather than costing millions to fight mosquito-borne disease caused by improper disposal of tires. We are going to be using these same tires to save costs and build more resilient road network. The ministry, through the National Works Agency, is now actively exploring the use of grub rubber in the making of asphalt for roads. We have already received interest from 3 companies, and we intend to look closely at the technology and use it where appropriate. Rubberized asphalt, you didn't do none. Rubberized asphalt, as it is called, contains regular asphaltic concrete, which is then mixed with the grub rubber that come from waste tires. The process involves the removal of extraneous materials such as wires, fiber, dust, glass, rocks, etc. from the tires, which are then reduced into small pieces. The chemical composition of grub rubber has been demonstrated to naturally retard the aging and excitation of rubberized asphalt pavement, as designed to do in tires. This, along with the physical elasticity of the rubber, creates a road surface that's as much as 50 times stronger than the current. Once the process is complete, we intend to enter into at least one framework contract for the production and supply of the material. This is not a wish list, as we intend to start during this year in the following areas. It's not a wish list. We intend to start this year, Mr. Speaker. Member asked when we intend to start this year. The following parishes will see: Portland, New Eden, and West Retreat; St. Ann, Blackgate to Limit Park; Maiden to Kearney, Shaw Park Road; St. Mary, Robbins Bay to Orange Bay; Port Maria to Islington; Claremont to Whitehall; Woodrock, Farm Pen, Russell Hall. Send me Victor is now ask the man for road those. Mr. Speaker, in St. James, Leader Road in Montego Bay, Salt Spring Main Road, Orange Street, William Street in Montego Bay, West Side, Peaceview, Zeke's Lane, St. Andrew, Amstead Road, Chavez Road, Ulster Road, Highlight View Road, Augustone Road, Westmead to I Drive, Clarendon, Mulletall, Shabberton Road to Maypen, Shabberton Road, Maypen, Howard Avenue, Portland Cottage, Salt River, St. Catherine, Colbeck, Riverside Park. Mr. Speaker, in recent years, the NWA has embarked on the use of microsurfacing as one of the methods of repairing pavements across the island. We have looked at the numbers as it is our view that we can get more value from using asphaltic concrete as the final surface rather than microsurfacing. Given the amount of money it is costing for the method of road paving, we are therefore going to be moving away from microsurfacing roads to using more asphaltic concrete to repair own surfaces. We believe that the people will get better value for money in this progress. Mr. Speaker, there's a trust. There's not trust to improve the north-south linkage through Clarendon and St. Mary. The road from Soursup turn to Chapelton has been under construction for some time. This corridor is divided into three, with the first section being from Maypen to Soursup turn, Soursup turn to Chapelton, and Chapelton to Trouthall. Over $1 billion is being spent on the second leg of the roadway from Soursup turn to Chapelton. We inherited a plan to move on to the third section from Chapelton to Trouthall. Mr. Speaker, having looked at the approach that was being undertaken to rehabilitate the rehabilitation of the corridor, we think that it was wrong and that the better approach ought to have been the project starting in Maypen, correcting the serious drainage defects that exist and continuing on to Trouthall in stages. This is a much better approach. What now obtains will be give little benefit if person gets to Soursup turn and cannot make it to Maypen, their destination. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we are shifting phase 2 from Chapelton to Trouthall to be from Maypen to Soursup turn. Mr. Speaker, the Junction Road in St. Mary has been a source of trouble for many persons traveling between Kingston and the northeastern parish of Portland and St. Mary. At the best of times, this corridor can be said to be difficult to traverse. Given its very winding nature, at the worst of time, it becomes an obstacle course and landslide and falling boulders being major. This section, Mr. Speaker, will be improved over 18 months. Going into Agualta Vale from in Junction Road, going to Agualta Vale at a cost of $597,763,122.55 to increase and improve the quality of road going into you can buy your drink. Mr. Speaker, there is an issue that many before me have spoken about, but not much progress has been made to correct what I deem to be a serious anomaly that cost the public hundreds of millions of dollars. I speak here about the cost that must be borne by government in relocating Jamaica public service lines that have to be relocated to improve major work. To demonstrate to you the type of money we are talking about, Mr. Speaker, I will point you to 3 projects, one of which is now underway. The relocation of poles along the source upturn to Chaplain Main Road in Clarendon is costing the government $43 million. The estimate to remove from the JPS posts along the Mandela Highway is another $37.9 million. The Agualta Vale area is $5 million. Mr. Speaker, JPS is a private business that benefits from the significant the amount spent to develop and improve our road infrastructure. The benefits are, however, not reciprocated, as while the government pays to relocate these posts, the company gets a free ride planting them within the rights of the way, without any compensation to government. I am aware that some discussion has been done regarding this issue. I intend to energize this particular issue, as I think the country ought to get some tangible benefits from the Jamaica Public Service Company, which not only demand payment for the relocation, but uses the opportunity to replace them. Going forward, Mr. Speaker, I will be engaging the Jamaica Public Service Company on all other utility providers, so they will pay to use the right of way owned by government, instead of we paying them to remove the post. Mr. Speaker, I will now address the matter relating to the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project. Noise after results in distortion of the information. We all know that the existing 2-lane along the south coast of the island, on the north coast from Negril to the southern coastal section of the island from Negril to Mandalore, which is 133 kilometers, and Harbourview to Port Antonio, 110 kilometers, is in an unsatisfactory condition. Mr. Speaker, we will work to correct this situation. Mr. Speaker, while not being the ultimate deciding factor, the we inherited a plan based on a feasibility study that was completed in 2014 by Stanley Consulting out of the United States. This project, Mr. Speaker, was conceptualized in 2008 when the loan from IDB was signed by then Senator the Honorable Dan Webby, and the study was commissioned then. So this is not new to us. But, Mr. Speaker, what we will do, we will improve the situation from Harbourview to Albion will be 4 lanes. This come out of negotiation with China Harbour. And the NWA negotiators have squeezed very hard to have gotten this. So, Mr. Speaker, negotiation commenced with China Harbour and NWA in 2015. And in March of that year, the GOJ applied to China Exim Bank for $400 million. The negotiation with Czech proceeded, and in March 2015, a condition agreement was signed by GOJ and Czech for a sum of $384 million to design and build Section 1A and 1B going to St. Thomas. The implementation project was subject to GOJ receiving a loan from China Harbour. In addition to the agreed construction cost, a further $120 million was going to be necessary to fund the acquisition and resettlement of workers. The sum plus 15% of the contract cost would have been borne by the government of Jamaica. This meant that the GOJ, would be required to come up with $177 million to be part of this project. We, Mr. Speaker, look at the project, and we will be doing total realignment and reconstruction of the existing roadway. From Harbourview to Yallahs, $110 million. Main Road Yallahs to Port Antonio, $74 million. Morant Bay to Cedar Valley, $12 million. And Maypen to Williamsfield at a total of $188 million. The original proposal of 4 lanes from Harbourview to Albion and 1.3 kilometers of 2 lanes from Albion to Yallahs will be done. This was first plan, and it is going to be done and this came out of discussion. This is an improvement from the earlier position announced by the Honourable Prime Minister at the press conference held on June 18 at Jamaica House, when we stated that construction of 2 lanes from Harbourview to Bull Bay and 3 lanes from Bull Bay to Grandspen and 2 lanes from Grandspen to Albion Bridge. The Prime Minister did say that the negotiations will continue with Czech. It is through these negotiations that we have now been able to arrive at this position and at no further cost on the budget. Yes, I do. Approximately.
The time for the member speaking has expired. House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the member's time be extended by 5 minutes to allow him to conclude his presentation.
The motion is that the member's time be extended by 5 minutes. Those in favour? Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, approximately 26 kilometers of existing secondary road from Morant Bay to Cedar Valley will be rehabilitated and resurfaced. Several retaining walls and major drainage work will also be done. Approximately 93 kilometers of existing 2-lane main road from Yales Bridge to Port Antonio will be rehabilitated and overlaid and asphaltic concrete done. Mr. Speaker, rehabilitation overlay of the road from Yales to Port Antonio will not prevent the implementation of the preferred alignment of other sections. The construction of sections, including bypass for White Horses and Morant Bay, can be done and will be done at a future state. So the bypass for White Horses and for Morant Bay will be considered at a further stage, Mr. Speaker. But if that was done now, we would not have been able to continue into Port Antonio. Mr. Speaker, this government recognizes that one of the paramount responsibility of any good government.
Members, you are disrupting the Speaker, and will not be able to stay within his time.
But, Mr. Speaker,
order.
Mr. Speaker, this government recognizes that one of the paramount responsibility of any good government is to provide for the needs of its poor and the less fortunate citizens and to protect their interests. We are providing hope for Jamaicans. Mr. Speaker, I again say that if we are to move this country to prosperity, we'll have to do things differently. Economic growth and job creation are to making this country prosperous. We have to ensure that our people, especially those with much needs, are given the right stimulus to produce. A sustainable social setting is manifested, and as an enabling government structure in place to make things happen. We intend to do just that. The path to this mission is to give our people hope. Our hope is not a wish, not a desire, not a dream. It is real. It is tangible. It means taking our people from poverty to prosperity. Mr. Speaker, the hope, housing, opportunity, prosperity, education program will replace GEEP. This program, Hope, replaces GEEP. It It is one of the strategies of the government of Jamaica to provide a one-stop shop for social intervention program affecting local communities and the most vulnerable groups in the society, namely children, persons with disability, the elderly, pregnant and lactating mothers, the unemployed, persons who fall below the poverty line, and victims of disaster. We, as members of this honorable House, are very often found ourselves having to respond to many needs of the people we represent. Demands vary, but when we speak to each other, we all recognize that there is consistency in the demands of our constituents. We intend to change the paradigm that now exists using some of the structures that we have worked, that have worked, and modifying others in order to achieve our goals of prosperity. The whole program will offer members of parliament an efficient system in streamlining programs for constituents' development. Each member of parliament will be able to manage and plan the support to their constituents through a central hub. The program seeks to improve the social and physical environment in communities island-wide. HOPE will incorporate several programs that were in different ministries and agencies. Production incentive, short-term poverty alleviation program, small business loan, public assistance, urban renewal housing program, infrastructure development program, and part of the tourism enhancement fund. As a multi-sector intergovernment agency, the whole program will offer a range of services to its targeted beneficiaries, as well as opportunity for the submission of project proposals from members of parliament, community-based organizations, and participating agencies. Application for benefits will be vetted based on a predetermined list of criteria. Our program will be responsible for the formulation, implementation, and evaluation of services and projects in keeping with its mandate. The program will coordinate all stakeholders and develop and implement appropriate systems of accountability that are in line with government policies and procedures. The program will prepare regular reports and will provide periodic updates to Cabinet and the Parliament through the Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, HOPE program will have a number of responsibilities. Some of these include collection of proposals from members of Parliament for various initiatives offered by the program, validate applicants' eligibility for benefits in accordance with its established criteria, provision of social assistance and social services to the poor and vulnerable, provision of grants for micro-income generating activities, provision of specific and diversified loan product, provision of grants for emergency and compassionate purposes, assessment of emergency and provision of relief assistance to victims of man-made and natural disaster, redevelopment of government tenements, provision of on-the-job training program, provision of infrastructure development program, provision of tourism improvement program, provision of wooden and concrete housing initiative, renovation of community and public facilities, recycling of project, use of community-based labor for renovation, use of local-based procurement of goods and services to complete project. Mr. Speaker, we are now moving to establish a secretariat to deal with the daily operation. Application. Application for benefit may be vetted based on the predetermined list of criteria. We are looking to have this developed based on the current methodology used by the participating agency. We'll be employing a cadre of social workers and project officers to investigate the cases submitted for consideration. Application may be submitted, received through the following sources: Members of Parliament, the whole program direct application, community-based organization, participating agencies, for example, Artrust, NT, and SDC. Application project proposal should be in keeping with the policy and the objective. Mr. Speaker, I did say that the JEEP would be subsumed under this new pretext. 6 phases of this program have already been completed. We are now going to move into the 7th phase. We'll be spending $708.75 million. Each member of parliament will be allotted or have been allotted $10 million for a project in their constituency. A total of $157 million will also be spent on special projects to include things such as manhole replacement, sidewalk replacement projects that are submitted by a community-based group. The respective ministry agents will be encouraged to receive existing budgets to identify areas, review existing budgets to identify areas which may be included under this program. Where existing programs are being expanded and amalgamated, a stringent process will be undertaken to ensure that all aspects of the finished project is fully funded. Mr. Speaker, the task of making Jamaica strong again is a huge one. We are not daunted by the fact, as we truly believe in the ability of our people to stand up and be counted. We aim to use the development of the country's infrastructure to drive developments. We intend to ensure that we build a kinder, gentler, more responsive government. A government that considers the environment within which our people function and how this impacts their daily lives. We see ourselves as the ministry to make Jamaica strong again, and we intend to succeed at this task. The current approach with Food for the Poor for housing will be discontinued or amended. We will be concentrating more of the resources on the inner cities where you have the ghetto areas, you have dilapidated houses. We intend to look at these and increase the amount to them. Mr. Speaker, I close. Mr. Speaker, inner city, I said we'll be paying, we have not abandoned the rural areas, but we'll be paying more attention to the inner city to get rid of the dilapidated houses. But you'll be taken care of still. You'll be taken care of still, but we're going to concentrate on that. Mr. Speaker, I close as I began, thanking that great geometrician of the universe for the many blessings that he has bestowed in this country. With him as my guide and our guide, I know I shall play my part in ensuring that this country succeed on the road from poverty to where it truly deserves to be, prosperity. Mr. Speaker, I look forward that at the end of my stewardship, I'll be able to say, I did it my way, and I'm proud of that way. May God bless you all, and may God bless Jamaica, land we love.